Hey crafty friends, thank you so much for tuning into my channel, and as you can tell by the title, we are going to learn a little bit more about crochet and crocheting the basic stitches such as a single crochet, the double crochet. Obviously starting a project or a pattern, a lot of times they'll either start with a slip knot and going into a chain or a magic circle, or magic ring. So we're going to be doing those as well because I really want to help you really get started and be able to read those patterns. And when I first started crocheting, I know I got extremely frustrated. All I wanted to do was make a little square. I didn't even start a granny square. In fact, to this day, I've never made a granny square, and I've been crocheting for like 7 years, so I don't know. You don't have to start with a granny square if you don't want to. But the outside of my squares kind of started looking like this and nothing was even. So I want to help you prevent some of those mistakes that I made, and hoping that this video is really going to help you. I know there are a lot of other videos out there, but sometimes you just need a different vantage point so that it just clicks. And hopefully, again, hopefully this is a video for that. So don't want to take up a lot of your time. Every stitch that I have is going to be time stamped, and I will have that in the comments and in the description as well. So yeah, let's get into this. Before we begin, I did want to go over a couple basic things that you want to learn and understand when you are starting. So right now I'm just using this Red Heart Super Saver yarn. Oops, sorry about that. Red Heart Super Saver yarn. This one, if I go like this, so this is a medium number 4, call that worsted weight as well. They recommend that you have a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, or if you're knitting, a 5 millimeter knitting needle, but obviously we're doing crochet, so you can always use this, this is just a guide, right? There are so many different things that you can do and different crochet hooks that you can use depending on the look that you are going for. Today I am using, if I can get this to focus here, I am using this letter H crochet hook, which is a 5 millimeter crochet hook. So that's what I will be using. Some people, again, I like that it shows this, but there are 2 different ways that you can start using your yarn. Some people like to use the yarn. There are two starting points essentially. You can either start by pulling from the center, which is something a lot of people do, or the other way, which is, there it is. So you can also take this off and use this little guide to start. I honestly usually use this, but for this video I wanted to keep the label on. But yeah, a lot of people, I like using this more than the center. It seems like every time I use the center, you get this big old yarn baby that gets stuck, and I don't want to deal with that. So my personal preference is using the outside. That's just what I like to do. You don't have to do that, but yeah. So I will throw this back here. Alrighty, well, first of all, I apologize that this video is a little bit different. I am doing it at a different time of day because when I went to upload the video, somehow the file was corrupted. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to start, your chains. So when you're doing a chain, starting a pattern, it'll usually ask you to do a slip knot first. That's kind of how you get all of this started. So what I like to do is I hold it with my thumb and pointer finger, and I just kind of like hold it like this. I put my thumb and pointer finger of my right hand in, and I twist. So you twist and you're making a loop here, just like this. And you want this strand to go through this loop. So I just reach over like this, and I pull through. That's all it is. So I'll do it one more time. So holding it like this and putting it through, twisting, grab and pull through just like that. And then once you have your crochet hook as well, you can just insert it into that loop here and you pull on that longer part. Just leave the tail for now. So I'll show you when you put the crochet hook on. So do this, twist, pull through, and then you can insert your hook into that loop and then pull the long tail. And you don't want to pull it super snug to this. You don't want a lot of room in it either. Essentially just doing it so it's still easy to move up and down like that. So I have had patterns where, you know, it'll say something along the lines of chain 35 and I either forget to count, don't know where I am, or, you know, you count wrong. So whenever you are doing a chain, you want to make sure that you have exactly the same amount of chains that your pattern is telling you to work with. So I wanted to show you how you can count the chains as well. So this is what the back of your chains look like. This is what the front of your chains look like. And this is how you can tell how many you have. So each of these little lumps on top, there's 1, 2, that's considered a chain. So when you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we do have those 6 chains, but just remember to count because when you have more chains, sometimes you'll be going and let's say you need 35 chains and you do 34, you're gonna get so confused later on down the line with the pattern, because typically at the end of each line of a pattern, it will tell you, you know, how many stitches you have total. So that'll throw that off. So again, make sure you have the right amount of chains. So the next step that we're going to do is we are going to do a single crochet. So in order to do a single crochet, what we are going to do is we are not going to go back through this chain. We always want to skip this one, and this is going to be considered your first chain. So whatever your, like however many things you are chaining, so if you have 6 chains, you're going to have 5 stitches across, because again, we are skipping this one. You don't want to do the one that's right next to your crochet hook. This is where I see a lot of beginners make mistakes. That's when your square that you have starts kind of going like that and tapering off. And we do not want that, obviously. So again, let me get a little bit closer here so I can show you. We don't want to go back through here. So we want to go through this guy. So I will do that right now. So we insert our hook there. And remember, we always want to yarn over and then pull that through. You now have 2 loops on your hook, and we're gonna pull through again. Just like that, and that is your first single crochet. So I will go down the line here. We're gonna go through the next one. So remember, each stitch that you do, as of right now, we're gonna do 1 stitch per chain. So sometimes I get confused and I always wanted to put it back in here and say, okay, we're going through here now, but this is the chain that you just did. And you can tell because this right here is looped around this chain. So if you pull and kind of tug a little bit, you can tell that this chain is being tugged on. It's already had a stitch in it. Another way that I like to keep the tension as well, I will go like this sometimes. So I'll wrap it once, twice. And again, this allows me to easily take this yarn, and the tension is pretty good when I do it that way. So 1, 2, and then just holding it back a little bit. Again, I'm not pulling super hard, I'm just making it so that we have a nice long line here. So now that we have this first stitch in our first chain here, we're gonna keep on going. So we should have 4 left, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're gonna continue on that way. So again, I'm gonna 1, 2, so that I have a decent tension on here. And then we are putting our hook through that next chain, yarn over, pull through. There are your 2 little loops, pull through both, and that is our second stitch. So we're just gonna continue on, so we have 3 more. as you can see, we have done 5 stitches, and you can always count on top too. So if I show you what the top of this line looks like, it's kind of like your chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have 5 of them. So here's where I see beginners making another mistake, and I'm going to show you how to prevent that one, because this is the one where I think is really important. So you have this last loop here, right? What we want to do is we want to chain 1. The reason why we want to chain 1 is we want to continue to have 5 chains. But remember, if we chain on this first one, we're missing 1. We're going to lose 1. That's 4. So by chaining 1, we're bringing that 6th chain back so that we can actually go to the 2nd chain. So I'll do that one more time. I know it can get a little confusing here, but here's our loop. We're gonna chain 1, so yarn over, pull through, that's chain 1. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to flip. So we're flipping this over, and I'm gonna get closer here. Hopefully this can make sure that this is in focus. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 here. So we are skipping that one, the one that's closest to our hook, and we are gonna go through this chain. So unlike our first row, we wanna make sure that we are going through both of these lines here, both of these. So I'm gonna kind of show you here. So we don't want to just go through, let me make sure I can get the tension. Okay, we don't just want to go through this first loop like that. We want to go through both of them. So this is what, in different patterns and stuff, this is what would be considered your front loop only and back loop only. When you're doing a regular single crochet, we always want to go through both of those. And then you're going to pull through a loop, you have your 2, and pull through, and now we are on our way to that second row there. So then you should have 4 left again. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm gonna go through this row and get to the end there again. And then we have this last one. This one always kind of confused me too, but again, you can see that it has those the two loops that we gotta go through there. So don't think that that was your last one. Again, this is why it's good to count your stitches too. So you want to go through here and go under both of those, and make sure that you really do go through both of those, and you don't like essentially just like sever this, because then you have these weird little things back here too. You want to make sure that you're getting underneath both of them for sure. So let me make sure I actually do it right here for you. Going under both of them, pulling through, and just like that. So that is how you do your single crochet. And again, to start that next row, you would chain 1, flip, skip that first chain closest to the hook, and then continue on. All right, the next stitch we are gonna go over is the half double crochet. So again, I'm starting with my slip knot here, pulling that through, and I am just gonna make 6 chains once again. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have our 6 chains right here. Now it's similar to the single crochet in the sense that you are still skipping like the chains. You want to go in, you'd never want to go in the one that's closest to the hook, but because the half double crochet, or the HDC in patterns, because it's taller and thicker, you're gonna need a little more give on your chains, and we don't want to like squish anything down. So since the half double crochet is a little bit taller, instead of skipping your first chain, we're actually gonna skip the first 2. So we are going to insert our crochet hook into the 3rd chain. So we have 1, 2, 3. So your crochet hook is going in here. So what we're gonna do is, for the half double crochet, you start by doing a yarn over, just like that. So yarn over, and then we're gonna throw that right in the 3rd one. So go down into the 3rd chain, and then we're gonna pull another loop through. Now, instead of 2, you now have 3 loops on top. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna yarn over once again and pull through all 3 of those. And that is your first half double crochet. So let's go through the rest here. I have 3 more left. So yarn over, going through that stitch, yarn over, pull through, make sure you have 3 loops, and pull through all of them. And you can see too, once you start going, it starts going like that, right? It looks a little bit better. When we did that first one, it kind of looked like it had a horizontal pattern going like that, but as we go on, it straightens out into that versus that. Hope that makes sense. Let's go again. So we have 2 more. So we're gonna yarn over, throw it through that next chain, yarn over, pull through. You got 3 loops there. We're pulling through all 3 of them. Possibly. There we go. All right, got through all 3 of those, and we have this last chain left. So once again, yarn over, pull through the chain. Oops. There we go. Got 3, and we are pulling all the way through. So perfect. There is your first row of half double crochets. Now in order to continue to the 2nd row, on the single crochet we did 1 chain, but on the half double crochet we are doing 2 more. So 1 chain, 2 chain, and we once again flip our project just like this. And again, instead of skipping the first one, we are skipping 1, 2, and then going into the 3rd chain. So we're gonna yarn over once, skip those first 2, oops, skip those first 2 going into this 3rd chain here, and then pulling through, and then you have all 3 of those loops, and you're gonna pull through all of them just like that. So that is how you start your 2nd row. I'm gonna yarn over, put through the chain, pull a loop through, and then you have all 3 just like that. So that is how you are gonna do your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th row. That's what that's going to look like. Okay, the final stitch I am going to show you is now the double crochet, or in a pattern, DC. So we're gonna once again start with our slip knot, and I am actually gonna chain 7 this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So once you have that, just like with the single crochet and the half double crochet, we are increasing the size of this stitch. So instead of skipping your first chain for the single crochet or the first 2 for the half double crochet, we are skipping the first 3 for the double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and we are inserting it into the 4th chain here. And how we do this is we are going to yarn over 1, 2, 3, and 4, bring that through the 4th chain, and then we're going to yarn over once again, pull through. Once again, you have 3 loops, just like we did with a half double crochet, but instead of pulling through all 3 of them, what we're gonna do is pull through 2 of them. So yarn over, pull through those 2, and you still have 2 left. And we are going to pull through both of those. And that is a double crochet. So let's keep going here. Yarn over and go in that next chain. Pull through. You have 3, but we are pulling through 1, 2, and then the next 2, just like that. So let's do this again. We're gonna yarn over, go through the chain, pull a loop through, first 2, and then these last 2. Do 1 more, go through that last one, pull through, and then we're pulling through. Okay, now you've done your first row of double crochets. So now, again, like we did with the other ones, we're gonna do our chains. And with our double crochet, we are going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to turn our work, and we're gonna go into the 4th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, here's our 4th stitch. And we're gonna yarn over, go through that 4th stitch, bring the loop through. You have your 3 loops right here. So I'm gonna yarn over, go through 1 and 2, and those last 2, just like that. And now you've started your 2nd row. So I'll continue on. We're yarning over, going through the next stitch there. And then 1, 2, and 1 and 2. So that is going to be your 2nd row of double crochets. So yeah, I mean, with this knowledge, you should be able to start quite a few different patterns and kind of just going from there. A lot of people are struggling with the magic circle or magic ring, MC or MR. So what I'm going to do is do this magic circle here. So I'm going to use my thumb and pointer finger just to hold that. Again, there are a lot of different ways that you can start this magic ring or magic circle. This is how I have found it to be the easiest. So I'll hold on to it like this. I will wrap it around these 2 fingers as so, and I will cross it over here. So I kind of just hold it with my pinky and ring finger over here. And what you're going to do is you want this strand of yarn to go underneath here. So I am inserting my hook and I'm pulling that through like this. And then we're going to chain 1. And that's how I start the magic circle. So if it says, so this is like the chain, you know, if you want to chain 3 or 4, this is basically you're acting like your slip knot. So then I'll go through, I'll pull 1 more, and I kind of just do this like back and forth, but essentially yarning over, going through these 2, and that is your first chain there. This one does not count. Again, this is acting like your slip knot in a sense. So that's 1. And then what you can do is, this is how it's going to pull that tighter. You get the smaller circle that way. So I'll kind of put a couple fingers through like this while this strand of yarn is through these 2 fingers. So if I put them through, you see the strand is going through here. So we're just gonna keep going like we did. So going through that circle, the yarn is over the hook, pulling through. You have 2 loops and basically just single crocheting as many times as it tells you to do. So if it says, hey, we need 4 single crochets in a magic circle. We have, you can count still, so 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna do one more. So pulling this through, then grabbing it, just like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4 in your magic circle or magic ring. When you're done, you pull it. It's a lot easier to pull like tighter when it comes to like worsted yarn versus that like chenille yarn or the yarn that's like kind of fuzzy. And so you can pull that. And then this is what we call a slip stitch or a join. So you can, those are kind of interchangeable. So doing a slip stitch or a join just means we're at the end of that row or the end of those chains. So we're going to go through that first stitch that we did and making sure that you go through both of those loops, just like that. And when you pull through, instead of pulling through like this, like we normally would for something, you're pulling through both of them. And that's how you join. So I'll try, well not try, but I'll show you again here. So we're going through here, and this is a slip stitch, is going through both of them as such. Just like that. Hope that makes sense, but I can show you kind of, again, the magic ring or magic circle and how quick you actually can get it started. So holding it like this, dragging it over my fingers, and then we are taking the hook and pulling that top one under, and we are essentially doing a slip knot through that loop we just made, right? So that loop we're just making here, like that. Okay, so we have that slip knot, and now we're just essentially going to single crochet. So we're going in that circle, then we're yarning over, pulling up a loop, going through these 2 loops, and that is your first stitch or first chain. So if it says single crochet 4, that's 1. And then that's 2. That's 3. 1, 2, 3. And 4. Just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, this is how you pull it to tighten it. And I always like to leave this little tail on until I get a few rows out. So if you're doing a circle, obviously with a magic circle, you get about, you know, to here. That's when I'll usually clip that tail. It's kind of nice just to have it there for now. And then what you're going to do is you're going to join. So remember getting your hook through both of those, and then pulling through and pulling through. So this one no longer counts. By joining it, it's just kind of replacing that stitch with the join, but it's not adding or taking away from your stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I hope you learned a lot through this. You learned how to do a slip knot, slip stitch, or join. Learned how to do a single crochet, half double crochet, along with the magic ring or magic circle. And so this is how, you know, this should all be really easy and make you feel excited to crochet. If you're getting frustrated, don't worry. Please just take your time, go through this. The tension is, at some point, all of this will just click. If you'd like to see more of these tutorials, and I will be putting more out, but if there's anything specific that you would like to see, or if you would be interested in basically tutorials on actually how to create products. So for example, if you want to make a crochet chicken, right? Maybe I will do a video on that. So if you have any suggestions or things you'd like to learn, definitely let me know in the comments. subscribe to the channel to stay up to date, and we will go from there. But thank you again so much for trying something new, and you're going to get better, so enjoy the journey.